The diversity statement and the personal statement. If you haven't answered this question in your personal statement, then you pretty much missed the point. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Brittany and I'm a lawyer living in the Silicon Valley, and this is part of my Ask an Expert series. If you haven't seen the other videos, go ahead and click up here, or I'll also link them in the description box. But basically it's where I ask an expert questions that you've asked me or topics that you want me to ask an expert about. Because as you know, I have been out of law school for 6 years now, so it's been a while, and even then I'm not an expert by any means, and so in order to get you the best information possible, it's better for me to ask an expert. In today's video, I will be talking to Hamada, who is the founder and CEO of Right Track Admissions. So today's video will be all about the diversity statement and the personal statement, which is a very important component to your law school application. I know a lot of you are applying to law school or thinking about applying to law school, so hopefully this video will help you learn more about how to write that law school personal statement. So if you're interested, then keep on watching. So as I mentioned, Hamada is the founder and CEO of Right Track Admissions. He went to Berkeley for law school and then after that practiced in SF and then decided to go back to school. He went to Harvard for grad school. He grew up abroad and now lives in the Santa Monica area, but he has a lot of experience obviously just applying to law school and then as being a founder and CEO of Right Track Admissions, helping students and people like you to get into their dream law school. So what is Right Track Admissions? Right Track Admissions is an admissions service that will help you to get to the dream school that you want to, and it doesn't just focus on law, it also helps people with college and grad school, so a lot of different options out there. But obviously, Hamada is a lawyer himself and he went to law school, so he really has a passion for the law students and those that want to go into the legal education. And so they really help you with different packages. Depending on how much you're willing to spend and what you're interested in, you can find something that fits you in terms of with just helping with the personal statement, maybe helping with the whole application process, what to fill out, how to fill it out, how to edit your resume, giving you coaching along the way. And they also have a special service called the Law App service, which is basically them looking at you as an admissions officer would, doing a SWOT analysis to see what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then sort of giving you your own score to see how you would do if you were to apply to law school. So if you're not interested in their entire package, you just kind of want to get a snapshot or a glimpse of what you may look like to an admissions officer, that's a great option as well. So I'll of course leave the Right Track Admissions website down below where you can check out the packages they have and to help you, because I know when I was applying to law school, you don't really know what you're doing. You've applied to college, but law school is a totally different beast. And if your LSAT score or GPA is not super strong, then I think it's important to have extra help to help you to present the best version of yourself on your application. Okay, so let's first talk about the diversity statement. When Hamada first suggested that we talk about this, I honestly didn't even know there was such a thing as a diversity statement, but given what's been going on in our world, in our country, diversity and inclusion is such a huge topic, is such an important topic, and now that systemic racism and the racism against the Black community has been brought to the forefront, and people such as myself who didn't realize the extent as to what racism they were facing came to light, I think it's important for everyone to highlight the diversity that they have in their own lives. So what is the diversity statement? So not all universities or law schools ask for a diversity statement. Some might, but if they don't, you still want to write one because they always have supplemental essays that you can write about. Basically, it's adding to the overall picture of who you are and giving the law school admissions committee a better idea of what kind of candidate you will be and what kind of law student you will be. So why is the diversity statement important? So as we'll talk about later in the video, the personal statement is about why you want to go to law school, but the diversity statement is an additional area where you can talk about yourself that's not necessarily why you want to go to law school. They're related, but they're different. It's another facet of what you will bring to the table as a diverse candidate. As I'm sure you've heard of in the college settings as well, in law school, they want to fill out their incoming class with different types of students, different types of experiences, people who will bring a different perspective. If everyone's the same, then the conversation, the discussions will just not go anywhere, and you're really not going to learn a lot from each other. They want to bring different people from diverse backgrounds, and so this is your opportunity to show what you will bring to the table, what you will bring to the classroom, and what diverse school of thought or background you are going to bring to the law school. Okay, some tips on writing the diversity statement. First, obviously be authentic. Don't steal someone else's story. And even talking about someone else's story is not going to be as compelling as your own. Second piece of advice is not to use quotations if it's something you can Google. If it's something your grandma said, if it's something that a mentor said, that has much more weight than a random person, a famous person that you're quoting just to make you sound a little more intelligent. So I would skip the quote if it's something that you can Google. Third piece of advice is to think about diversity as not just race, not just the color of your skin. There are so many other things that can make you a diverse person. For example, your experiences, your hobbies, your religion, your interests, medical or financial hardships, people you've met along the way that have really influenced you. This is your opportunity to again show that different facet of yourself. So don't think just because you may not be a person of color that you have nothing to talk about, because I'm sure you do. The last piece of advice is that don't duplicate what you've already written in your personal statement. In your personal statement, you can give a nod to your diversity statement, give a small snippet of it, a preview, but don't duplicate between the two because you only have these two essays to present to the committee. You don't want to duplicate information, you want to be adding upon the information. For example, if you've done certain volunteer work, it might be more important to put it in the diversity statement to show how you grew, what you learned from it, rather than in your personal statement. Okay, so moving on to the personal statement. First of all, what is it? It's your opportunity to answer the question, what in your life has directed you towards the legal career path and going to law school? If you haven't answered this question in your personal statement, then you've pretty much missed the point. You need to make sure you're answering if there's a prompt, but most likely the prompt is circled around this question. So why is the personal statement important? Unlike college, you most likely will not have an interview for law school. And because they're not going to be able to talk to you and get to know your personality and who you are, this is your opportunity to shine. This is your opportunity to present yourself other than what's on paper. For example, your GPA or your LSAT score might not be that great. They're already putting you further down the line compared to other candidates. But if you have an amazing personal statement where they can really see what you can add to the law school, then it can make up for a bad score. Hamada talks about this personally, where he studied a lot for his LSAT, he tried his best, but he just wasn't able to get a good score. So although he had a good GPA, he already knew that he might not get into his dream schools. But because he wrote an amazing personal statement, he believes that's what was able to get him into Berkeley Law School. So this is your opportunity to shine and you don't want to waste it. Okay, so let's go into some general tips about the personal statement. First, the anatomy. You're going to obviously have your intro, and then in your second section, you're going to be talking about your background, who you are, your upbringing, etc. The third section will be about your professional life, your academic life, what you've studied, and what your experiences are so far. The fourth section will be about why you want to become a lawyer, why you want to go to law school, and why you want to have a legal career. The fifth section will be about why you are choosing this particular law school. So obviously this should change between the different applications that you're applying to, but you want to talk about if there's a specific person that you met, a mentor, a family member, a reason why this law school in particular is the one that you want to go to. So make sure you do your research. It's almost like a job interview where you want to talk about why you want to work for that company. And then of course is your conclusion, where you want to wrap it all up nicely. Okay, so how do you start the personal statement? You want to start it off with an attention grabber, something like an action. It's almost like the opening scene of a movie. How would you grab your reader or your viewer's attention instead of just starting out like any other person? Think about something that happened in your life and explain that action or that sequence, and then you want to go into what you learned from that, how that influenced you, and tie all the other aspects back to that central main point. Basically, you want to provide context for what the action is and how it affected you. Alright, let's go into some of the questions that you guys asked me to ask Hamada. The first one is, how long should I take to write the personal statement, and how many reviewers should I have? So I think the point is that the actual writing of the essay is not the hard part. It's the pre-work. And if you don't do the pre-work, then your essay is not going to be as good. So you want to take at least 3 months to think about what you want to write about. And I know that sounds like a long time, but if you really think about it, your story, your compelling action in the beginning is the most important part of your personal statement. You don't want to rush it. You don't want to think about some half-baked idea or some random thing that you've been thinking, some random experience that doesn't really tie in very well. Think about your life, think about your experiences, think about how you can grab your reader's attention. And so that's why Hamada really recommends spending at least 3 months to think about what you want to write about in your personal statement. Now, how many people should you have review it? He suggested 3 people. So you want to have someone that knows you well, someone who knows about law school, and then someone who's a good writer. Now, these 3 people don't have to have all 3 of these attributes. If anything, they will add different aspects when they're reading your essay. You don't need to have more than that amount of people to read it. I think you're really hitting the main points of, does this explain why I want to go to law school? Does this explain who I am? And is it written well? One last thing to note, after you're done writing, if you read your essay and you don't get goosebumps or you have that aha moment or feeling, then you probably need to rewrite it. Think about you being in the shoes of the law school admissions person. If they're not getting goosebumps, if they're not having their aha moment, you're probably going to get put to the bottom of the list or the bottom of the pile, and you don't want that to happen. So make sure you have a really compelling story. The next question is, should I focus more on the journey or why I want to go to law school? So remember what I said at the beginning, that the point of this is to answer why you do want to go to law school and have a career in law. Hamada suggested if you delete the fact that this is a law school personal statement and you replace it with a master's in social work or something, and the story still fits, then you've missed the point. Because that means that your story, your essay, is not pointing to why you want to go to law school specifically, which is the prompt and which is the point. So you do want to focus on your law school story and why you want to study law. Next question is, when should I have the essay written if I want to apply to this admission cycle? Most people start on their applications in September or October to then apply a few months later. However, if you start in May, June, or around this time frame, you are basically ahead of the game. And because it takes about 3 months to write your essay and think about it, you want to work backwards. Why not give yourself enough time? Even if you haven't taken your LSAT yet or you're still studying for that, you can begin other portions of the application early, especially this personal statement. So if you really want to be safe, I would say start as soon as possible in the May-June time frame. The next question is, how personal is too personal when you're writing in your personal statement? So obviously you don't want to write things that are just pulling at heartstrings, just trying to get emotional. For an example that Hamada provided was, if you're obese and you're talking about being obese, you're sort of just trying to get sympathy. But if you then translate it into, you were bullied at school, or you saw your other friends were bullied at school because they were obese, and then you started a club or some sort of petition to get a law passed at your school that bullying will result in suspension or something, then you can sort of tie that to how you are going to advocate for your clients, or how you wanted to study law because you had that experience. And so see how you're able to take something that may be a little more emotional or personal and turn it into why you want to go to law school. Another thing is that you don't want to write something that will enrage the reader. Think about your reader on the extreme ends of certain spectrums. For example, someone who's extremely conservative or extremely liberal. If what you write will enrage or make either of these people upset, you probably don't want to write it. Obviously, you want to be sensitive to political issues, and you don't have to censor yourself, but at the same time, you don't want to make your reader angry because they're probably not going to be willing to admit you. So think about that when you're writing your essay. Don't be intolerant and don't be insensitive. Just keep these things in mind. Okay, the last question is, how many stories should I have in my personal statement? So think about your entire application as who you are. There are 4 main components to this application. There's the personal statement, the diversity statement, the addendum, and then your resume. So if you, let's say, have these 4 stories, these 4 points you want to make across your application, you have 4 opportunities to do that. And you don't want to overlap those because each should stand alone and present different aspects of you so that the committee has the entire picture. So if you want to talk about one story in your personal statement, another story in your diversity statement, another story or asset or aspect of yourself in the addendum, and then of course your resume. So think about that when you're putting in the different stories. Okay, so 2 little bonus portions. First, I'm going to talk about the addendum. So what the addendum is basically your opportunity to talk about why you may not have done as well on your academic record or your GPA or your LSAT, maybe a criminal record, something else that you want to bring to the attention of the admissions committee in 400 words or less. You don't want to talk about these things in your personal statement, so this is where you will talk about it. So you want to reserve this for the addendum. But do keep in mind, you don't want to come up with excuses. You're trying to explain why you may not have done as well on something, but highlight something else. Yes, I may not have a good GPA, but my LSAT score is such and such, or I'm just not good at standardized testing, but such and such. So not making excuses, but just explaining why you may have a poor score in something. Last is your CV. So your CV is really more academically inclined than professionally inclined. So you want to talk about your academic achievements and what you've learned academically. If you've been working for several years or you've been out of school, then you can sprinkle in your professional experience, but really you want to focus on your academics because your resume is really going to show your working experience. If you've been out of school for a while, then you can talk about volunteer activities. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video and that it was insightful onto how you can write your diversity and personal statement. I know it's really daunting, and especially, I agree, there's people that don't feel like they're very special. They lived a pretty standard life, a comfortable life. It's hard to talk about things that have happened, but really that's why you want to take those 3 months to think about your life and think about what you've experienced, and maybe things will come up that you didn't even realize that would be good things to discuss in your personal statement. Don't forget to check out Right Track Admissions if you need help applying to law school. I do want to mention also that they have a lot of international staff that will help you international students. I know a lot of you who are watching my videos do not live in the US, but you're interested in coming to the US to practice law. And so Hamada gave a good point that usually you study law in your country and then you come and get your LLM in the US because there's no point in getting your JD over here. So they help you with your LLM applications and learning more about what it means and how it is to practice law in the United States because they've done it themselves and they understand what it means to come from an international background. So definitely check that out if you're international, if you're trying to think about how to come to the US to study law. So if you have any questions, don't forget to comment below. I'll try my best to answer them, and let me know what other Ask an Expert series you would like to see in the future. As usual, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!